Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back to Ship Happens.
What are we doing today, Jem?
It's just more woodwork as usual. And I know it's boring for you guys, and I know we've had some comments saying, why don't you go and build some staterooms or something a bit more entertaining? The truth of the matter is, you've got to make sure your structural work is done before you can start adding the glittery fancy touches.
Yeah, I'm really excited about doing the interior because obviously that's kind of what we do with the camper vans. You know what I mean? That's what we're good at. You know, like.
But unfortunately for now, we've got to get the structural integrity of the boat sorted. So that means some more woodwork.
Right, let's get stuck in. So I'm just going to cut the heads and the nails off so that I can tap them out and it doesn't really interfere me then removing the frame. I'm using the angry grinder.
So where we've got the row of heads.
Yeah. Because this cuts through wood, metal, and
fingers.
Basically 99.9% of like the earth it'll cut through. So now I've cut the rove off, we can now technically knock these all the way out, so we're not fighting with them when we're trying to get the frame off. So, but I'm using my most rubbish punch, because you'll see in a second why. That's why. But don't panic, I've already preempted this happening. Now, just going to repeat the process. Because it's got the exhaust now, because it falls apart, we'll take advantage of that. Luckily, this frame's very, very, very poorly. There we go. So now, when you're doing your own one, if you're following along at home, that is, on your own boat, just get a chisel now, and so these nails here, because we're a double diagonal boat, so there's two sets of planks on the outside, one going one way, one going this way. So when they put the first set of planks on, they basically nail it through the first set of planks to basically hold position until all the big nails go through. So all these little pesky nails get right in the way.
So you can't hit them out because they only go through the first layer of planking.
Correct. Yeah. So we can't hit them out, so we have to basically cut those off flush so we can then slip in the new one. So now that we're getting some better material, my prediction from doing 100+ frames is that we'll sort of head for the scarf around this area here. I mean, we could go a bit further, but we've already got a scarf here from the adjacent frame, so let's try and stagger them a bit. So we'll put our scarf in here, then we can have a look at the material sort of behind it. Yeah, cool. Alright, so scarf in there, then we can remove the rest. If it's bad, we can always come down further, can't we? So we'll take these two nails out here, because we now know our scarf's going to be around this area, but we'll take these out a bit more sympathetically and without cutting right through the wood. So we'll just cut the end off the nail. Did that make you jump then when it went flying?
Well, you accidentally hit me. I got hit one before.
Sometimes they're like ping pong, ping ping. So what we don't want to do with these nails here is go all the way out, because this is getting close to the waterline. So say we don't put this back in today, we can actually knock the nail back in, and then usually the water can come in, it's fine. So what I'm going to do is just sort of have a quick feel. How deep are we? Tiny bit more. So tiny bit more than that. Then we should have clearance then, and then we can knock it back in. Right, so what we always have issues with as well is the fixing for the stringers. So the stringer to the frame to the hull. By the moment they only go through the stringer and the web frame, but we put them right through the hull. So what you're best doing is cutting the end off it. Now we'll cut the between here.
Yes.
The reason we cut it now with the frame still in position, it gives it a nice tight cut against the stringer, because there's usually a couple more nails that stick through as well. So sometimes we put a new frame and it snags on it, it scars the new frame. Right, so now we need to put a scarf in it. I'd love to say we've got this perfect technique on how to put a scarf in it, but every single scarf is different depending on the access we've got. Because like usually we've got like web frames in the way. It'd be nice if these were a bit shorter, but obviously they can't make these just to suit boats, can they? So we can't really go in at that angle. So you can move these round. So what I do is basically start cutting, and then we get the grinder out, and then we'll make our own scarf, and then we can smooth it out quite nice. But we just do like a rough cut first. So I've put my mark a bit higher, just to give me a bit of a square reference to actually go off. Then we'll go as steep as we can, but then we can still flatten that back to get a bit more of a longer scarf. And we'll go for a wood cutting one, which it does cut through copper, but it don't last that long. It's got glasses on. Boss told me to wear glasses and a mask, but then I was saying, well, if I put a mask on, I won't be able to see because of the, you know, it steams up, doesn't it? So I've now dug that in a bit. So now I try and get it in a position that I can actually get, you know, like a longer run at it, but it's just, there's always something in the way, so you just gotta go for it, innit? And like try and get it as nice as you can. I mean, we could take this stringer out here. This is our next job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we just take it out? Come on, let's take it out. What is it the Americans call these?
Sawzall.
Sawzall. We always call them like, well, I think we call them like a reciprocating saw, or we just sort of like say recip. I don't know. Might be wrong. You know what our terminology is like with everything. It's all a bit backwards, isn't it? Oh, it's like a butter through knife, that. Right, so I've now got a bit of a better approach. As I was just saying to Jem, if you look down like the flat of the blade, then the battery, so you can't actually get them flat. So you couldn't ever get it flat to a floor. So it's quite a bad design that from the yellow manufacturer. But now, because of the cutting depth of these ones, so now we'll switch to the longer but metal, more orientated ones. Which will reach all the way through. So now we'll take a quick wedge out of it. And then yeah.
Wood looks good.
Well, wood looks good. This darkening here is off this tool. That will clean up quite nice. Alright, so we'll just carry on as far as we can now with this. Okay, so now we've roughed out the scarf. Now we can basically destroy the rest of the frame that's above it, and now come down to the scarf. So. As you can tell, the material's getting a bit tougher, which is good. Then we missed. So this nail here is the back of the stringer one. So you can see back of the nail there. These were all fixed before the planks went on. So obviously they made a big frame and then they fixed everything together and then they put all the planks on. So now the one we've already cut the head off on the stringer, so we can now knock that one through until it gets close to the hole. We'll get the mole grips on it, bend it out of the way, and then we'll be able to extract it that way then. So we now need to remove all these fixings. These only go through the first layer of planking, so we can't knock them out. So what I do now is put like a little cut in them, well, cut halfway through them, and then we basically snap them off, and they snap off level, and then later on we'll come back with the grinder with the flat wheel on it and then just smooth them off. So we always keep the old metal. Right, so we've cut all these nails back now. Basically, the top of the frame then gets fixed through the beam shelf. Believe it or not, this is the beam shelf. This was the beam shelf. But to make our life a bit easier, I'm just going to give this a bit of a tug, see what happens, because it's not really doing much, is it? There we go.
Quality beam shelf.
Quality. And we should technically have ourselves a beautiful nail. Still hammered on one end. Bad beam shelf. So what I'm going to do now is repeat the process on the one here, which is basically the same sort of fitment apart from the nails don't go all the way through because of the web frame's in the way. So they're actually a bit easy to get off once the web frame's out. We've got nothing really supporting the deck above if we take that one out. So what we're going to do now is put this web frame in and the knee back in, then it gives us some security then, doesn't it?
Don't want the roof falling on your head?
No, or the deck.
Or the deck head?
Or the deck head. Right, so here's one we made earlier. So that goes about there somewhere. So all we're going to do now is line this up perfectly and then draw a nice line. So we just have like at least one safety precaution out of all these other hazards, because what we've done is cable tied up the safety guard. Because basically I think it's more unsafe, because whenever you cut it on an angle, the guard sort of like kicks the back of the saw out, so you end up like trying to put your hand around there trying to pull the guard up. So if you can just eliminate it, then we're not daft, are we? We don't put our fingers in there rotating sharp things.
Is your battery dying?
Every time. Every smegging time. Right, let's see if she fits. So she's trying to straighten herself out a little bit, but that's to be expected. So once we get the top in, because that's obviously no skew.
So I've just made the packer. So we need to put this in before we put the web frame in. So, bit of glue. Dun. Thank you, helper.
The man behind the camera.
So what we'll do is we'll let that soak into the woods a little bit before we put the pre-thickened epoxy on it and clamp it together. With loads of oozage off that, isn't there?
Yeah, got it all on. A dab on that as well. Should be some screws and we're done with them. Okay, so now we need to shoot a big hole all the way through, right through the hole, and that'll compress the frame, the packer, the web frame and the knee. Keep it all nice and snug.
First web frame on the starboard side in the engine room. So that's one down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potentially to go if we do them all. Right, time to get that knee out, that web frame, and the rotty frame behind.
Oh well.
Just not in the best positions, is it?
No, so I don't think we'll be filming much of this one, so we'll give you a few little quick sort of updates as we go.
Because when they're in such a tight space, it involves a lot of swearing, and I don't want to have to edit out all the bleeps. Yeah. Beep, 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 beep.
It sounds like a bus reversing.
Wide load, beep, 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 beep.
That bus swearing.
You're making a mess.
You just approached me with a camera and didn't know what you wanted. It was all like, oh, what do you want? Yeah, so the majority of the frame's out now. Just trying to work out where to scarf it. Literally just started to scarf it and then realised actually I need to come down a bit further, so it's quite unfortunate.
It's going to be unfortunate if we're putting the copper nails outside right below the waterline.
Because I was looking at that one there and that one was tight there. I had to dig a little hole, so unfortunately I got to dig a bigger hole. Never mind.
So to put this in time perspective of how long it takes to remove the frames, we started this at 9:30 this morning and it is 2 PM. So it takes ages and ages and ages to remove the frames before we can even think about putting good ones in. Doesn't it, dear?
Yeah, and then we've got to make the frames in the workshop, we've got to process them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's about a day per frame.
Yeah.
A day's work, like. Day's my work, not Gemma's work, my work.
Yeah. I'd have it done in half a day. So when you think of how many frames and stuff we've done, and you know, I know you guys potentially getting bored of frames, but there is a lot of time into frames.
Well, soon, I think we're going to be putting this down. And then stepping outside, or at least starting to open up the deck to then start to look at like the beam shelf and all that sort of stuff, and trying to get our head around how we're going to do that. So, should be fun, shouldn't it? Only because like the weather's improving.
Well, it's still 4 degrees up there.
Yeah, but soon, all of a sudden, soon it's going to be 20 degrees. It's April, isn't it?
Yeah.
This time last year, we were doing the cabin top, weren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it this sort of time?
It was. It was like Easter last year we done the roof. God, hasn't that gone fast? A year since we done the roof. So our roof is a year old.
It'll be 20 years old by the time we finish it.
It'll need replacing by the time we've finished.
Oh, good.
So this web frame that we laminated last time is for the area that Simon's working on now. So while he's still hitting out wood, I'm going to clean this up and then get it painted. So I've seen these on Amazon, put them in our wish list, and Michael has bought them along with the scraper and some grinding discs. And I thought these would be perfect for cleaning up the hull, you know, getting all the bits of paint off. So, should we go and give them a try?
So on Friday, we're getting a special visitor, David from Cruising the Cuts, another YouTube channel. He came down, must be a year and a half ago now, when we first got the boat, and he had a look around, and he did a really good video on it. So he's going to come back. So I thought it's been a year since we did the roof, so you might want to focus on what we've done and what we've not done in the time that he's not been here. So up there's it's a bit mingy, so I'm going to go and give it a clean, I think. It's a bit bright up here. Does it need cleaning? I don't think it does it? It's not worth the hassle. What do you think, Jim?
Your clean and my clean is different, and David has better cameras than us, so...
I've eaten my dinner off worse.
It's alright down here, but just because all this...
Right, so you want me to clean it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't got much water though, so just concentrate on the worst areas here.
Alright, here we go. If I slip off the roof because I've got wet feet, yeah, I was going to start panicking now I've said that. She'll be like, oh, hang on a minute, it might be clean enough.
Alright, love. The mud's still soft.
So that's all the water we've got, so water to be sparing. Should have got the jet wash out. That'll do. I'll just close the door, see what's here. Maybe it's coming from the roof. I think it's running down the deck, and yeah. It's not been raining. Wasn't me.
Better not get on my fresh paint.
Yeah, that'd be annoying, wouldn't it? So let's say 1.4. That's the forward one.
We'll call that one number 1. So So now we have to hope we have enough wood, because we're a bit shy.
Yeah, we'll get the 1.8 on this one. This one's a 4-piece. So instead of our normal 3-piece bendy ones, we've got a 4-piece, and this one's extra bendy.
Extra glue.
Extra glue. So we've got loads. Glued like toilet paper. The more you've got, the more you use.
So when we're cutting these scarf joints into the frame, we always use a bevel to get the angle, but it's always quite difficult because of the shape of the hull and stuff. I was lying in bed tonight thinking, there's a simpler way to do that. I've never seen anyone do it, and I don't know whether it'll work, so we're going to test it now. So my idea was, if we just measured the distance from there to there and plotted it on a piece of frame, then technically that should get you the same scarf joint. So our scarf joint is going to be going back that way. So I'm going to measure from the bottom to the top. 2, 3, 5. So if I put a mark here, well, actually, we just measure the bottom. If I measure 2, 3, 5, then technically, if I join that mark to the corner, that will give you your line. Should we do a test and see if it works? So from the corner to the line, that was our measurement.
Alright, let's see if Gemma's crazy idea works. It's probably not crazy, probably everyone does this, but... Well, I'm going to have to give it to her. It's brilliant.
So that'll save you from messing around with these.
Because, to be honest with you, what we have been having problems with, you put the bevel against it, because the hull's so curvy, it's kind of, obviously this doesn't conform to the curve correctly. As you can see, there's gaps behind it here. So it doesn't actually properly work. So by taking measurements rather than relying on an angle, so an angle against the curve, so you never actually know where to take the angle from. So that's perfect. That's gonna iron out any issues that we've got. So cool. Right, we'll do that on the split ones now.
So measuring for the angle of the scarf joint seems to have worked out just as good, well, even better than the way we usually do it with the bevel. So simple and easy and time-saving way. Really impressed with that.
So look at Gemma's handiwork. I quite like the white with the wood. Looks really good, doesn't it?
There we go.
There we go.
That is the end of 2 days graft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're making pretty good progress now on the starboard side, aren't we?
Yeah, it's getting there. It's just time, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think in the past 2 days, what we've done is we've fitted the web frame.
Yep. Removed 2 frames.
Removed 2 frames and laminated 2 frames that have gone back in. And
so we've just copper nailed them. We've done it off camera because you've seen that 20 million times. Yeah. So the ground is actually getting a bit firmer outside.
Yeah, it's a teeny weeny bit firmer, yeah. It's starting to dry out in places. So.
It is, you can see it when it starts to crack and the mud goes a lighter colour. So hopefully this is like the first day of it picking up, which is getting into better weather, which is always nicer when you're working and it's warm and sunny and
still always on the soggy side of the boat line, but
yeah, we're getting there, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right, we're off home. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you do want to support our project, please think about joining us on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Every donation really does help so much with the restoration. So cheers.
Also, if you want to keep more up to date, you can follow us on Instagram.
Ooh, yes, I post quite a lot more on Instagram now.
Yeah.
I'm getting into all this. Well, I'm trying to learn how to do it all.
Down with the kids, aren't you?
Get down with the kids. So if you want to get down with the kids, come and join us on Instagram. Right, off home. See you all next week.
See you later.